Glorifying Hamas has consequences. UK refugee faces deportation. A disturbing case has erupted in the UK where 29-year-old refugee Heba um, Al-Hayek, who claimed asylum saying that she was fleeing Hamas persecution in Gaza, now faces deportation after being convicted under the Terrorism Act. Just 7 days after the horrific October 7th Hamas attack killed 1,200 Israelis when fighters crossed the borders using paragliders, Al Hayek and two others displayed paraglider imagery at a pro Palestinian protest in London. Despite acknowledging that, quote, a reasonable person would have seen and read the paraglider images as referring to glorifying the deadly Hamas assault, the judge, Tan Ikram, handed down a mere 12-month conditional discharges. And I'll explain what that means in a second. Outrageously, Ikram claimed that he decided to, quote, not to punish them as he accepted that they weren't seeking to show any support for Hamas, even though that is illegal under British law. Adding to the controversy, it was revealed after the sentence came down that the judge Ikram had previously, quote unquote, accidentally liked a social media post branding Israel a terrorist state. Former Home Secretary Suella Braverman blasted that, quote, with anti Semitism at an all time high, judges must be impartial and beyond reproach. Justice must be done, and it must also be seen to be done. The sentence must be reviewed. The Home Office is now reviewing Al Hayek's refugee status, saying, quote, supporting banned terrorist groups will not be tolerated. Okay. So um I need to explain some of the details of what happened here. Okay. So this is a woman who's living in the UK and she claimed refugee asylum status because she said that she would face persecution in Gaza because of her family's criticism of Hamas. Just think about that for a second. The basis of her asylum case is that were she to be in Gaza, she would be persecuted because some of her family members have publicly criticized Hamas. So keep that in
Wow.
mind here.
Wow.
Keep that in mind here. Okay, let's move forward a little bit. The October 7th attack happened in which Hamas attacked Israel by land, sea, and air. And by air, they had these freaking, little dune buggies that paraglided into Israel, where then the people paragliding in, the fighters paragliding in, went on to massacre and sexually torment civilians. And so that happened on October 7th. 7 days later, at a pro Palestinian uh, protest, these images came out of three women walking in the protest with images of paragliders taped to their backs. This is freaking abhorrent. And I would like to remind people, so this protest happened roughly on the 14th. I would like to remind people the Israel's response to the October 7th attack, Israel's retaliation upon Hamas, the attack upon Gaza, however you want to call it, that did not begin until October 27th. So the assault upon Gazan civilians, if that's the cause that really causes you to get fired up and your heart to bleed, understandably so, that did not even begin for another almost 2 weeks later, after they had paraglider terrorist imagery on their back. Because and this just reinforces my belief that if you were, like, marching for Palestine before Israel began their retaliation and their assault upon Hamas, then that's actually just supporting the Hamas attack. It basically is just a celebration. of the October 7th attack, and you're showing your solidarity for a terrorist attack because the assault upon Palestinian civilians hadn't even begun yet. So keep that in mind. So this video of these women walking through London with paraglider terrorist imagery on their backs went viral, and all three of these women were brought up on charges. And from you can have your own arguments from speech perspective, whatever. The fact of the matter is that this is not kosher, so to speak, under UK law. So regardless of how you feel about the fact that that is an issue within the law, we need to put that aside for a second and say, okay, under English law, this
Yeah.
is considered an issue.
As long as it's a law, it should be applied. You could
Exactly.
argue that it shouldn't be the law, but as long as it's a law, you should be consistent with applying it.
Yeah. So they were brought up on charges under the Terrorism Act for basically what, and let me find the exact phrasing, but displaying things that would lead a belief of a reasonable support of a terrorist group. Some phrasing like that. And you know what? I'm like, okay, regardless of how you feel about the law, if that's the law, I think that's a fair application of it, because if you see that, a reasonable person would have reasonable belief that you are supporting a terrorist group, right? And okay, no, here it is. They were on conditional discharges for carrying out or displaying an article to arouse reasonable suspicions that they were supporters of Hamas, which is a recognized terrorist group in the United K. And one thing that's important to notice is that basically people are really pissed that this judge did nothing to punish them. And the thing is, because they were given a 12-month conditional discharge, what that basically means is that they are not going to face punishment for a period of 12 months. And if they commit another offense within that period of 12 months, then they will be hit with the punishments for this. So that means that unless they commit another offense, they're walking away with no punishment. And people are pissed. And he's saying, "Oh, well, I didn't want to punish them because I didn't think that they were seeking to show any support for Hamas." Like, how are you thick? Is there any other way to interpret that? Like, I'm trying to think of like a different or a comparable example. And it's hard to think of one. I'm like, if you were, I mean, as an American, of course, I think of 9/11. And I'm like, if there was some context that you were like walking in a protest and like had photographs of like plane hijackers on you, or like planes hitting like the twin towers, like who is going to think that you mean anything different? What reasonable person is going to think that you mean anything different? And so then this became complicated by the fact that after this decision came down, it was revealed that this Judge Ikram, had, according to him, accidentally, but he had liked a post on Instagram, and this was no, excuse me, on LinkedIn. And in this LinkedIn post, it was by a barrister who's known for spreading conspiracy theories about October 7th, falsehood, lies, basically spreading like ideas that like Israel wanted this to happen, or like like basically that Israel actually orchestrated it themselves, like all sorts of bullshit. And in this post by this barrister, oh, it says something really freaking horrible. Oh, let me try to find it. Um basically it says, okay, in this post, that this judge that sentenced these women, it said, quote, "Free Palestine to the Israeli terrorists both in the United Kingdom, the United States, and of course Israel. You can run, you can bomb, but you cannot hide. Justice will be coming for you." Israeli terrorists in the United Kingdom and the United States? What are you talking about? You're just referring to all Israelis, aren't you? And so then it was revealed that this judge had liked that post. And then so people are, like, seriously questioning, like, what the hell is going on here? Like, if like, "Sir, if you're a judge, you have a duty to dismiss yourself if you do not think that you can be impartial." That's 1. 2, there are investigations that are going to be happening against this judge because of liking this post. He might be written up for this action because it's very important that the public believes that you are impartial, right? Um, and the issue is that this sentence that he gave these women, um, cannot be reviewed because of under some technicality in the law. There's, like, some technicality where, like, it can be appealed, but, like, it can't be reviewed. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. So separately, what is happening is that the sentencing is one thing, okay? And then besides that, because of all this happening, the Home Office is now reviewing her case and reviewing her application for asylum. And I have no idea about any likelihood or what the status is or blah, 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 blah. But because of this, separately than the sentencing, right? Because there's some technicality where they can't change that or can't review it. Separately, the Home Office is going, we need to do some digging into this. Like, is she fit to be here? Maybe the details of her application are actually don't have veracity. Go ahead.
Y- I think even if this was not illegal in the UK, it wouldn't be against a free speech laws. Let's say, for example, UK had enough free speech like United States for you to be able to say something like this or express something like this. You can still be deported because, again, you're not a citizen. And when it comes to evaluating your asylum case or your immigration case, your views can definitely be used against you, and that is not a violation of freedom of expression laws. So even if UK, you have to have certain values to be able to come to a country. That's visiting and immigrating to a country is a privilege, it's not a right. And it's definitely not against your freedom of expression for you to be not welcome to a country, because it's a
Regardless
privilege for
of
you to even be there. Yeah.
I agree, because like I said
Yeah.
before, being able to seek asylum is a human right. Being
Yes.
granted asylum is a privilege.
It's a privilege. Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
And in any other circumstance, let me be clear. This should be standard procedure. That if you are saying that you are fleeing a group because of certain and imminent danger to your life, these are some of the criteria for seeking, like, political or religious persecution. I know this because I deal with asylum cases of atheists and ex-Muslims all the time. And when I'm writing to their caseworkers, I say this person has certain and imminent danger and threat to their life.
Mm.
And then you're saying, okay, it's coming from this source, whatever that source is, whatever context. And then later you are found to be in support of and glorifying the people that you're saying are posing an imminent threat to your life. That is completely reasonable circumstances under any context to review that person's claim to asylum.
Mm.
Literally, that just makes sense. Like,
So I want to make a few points. First of all, if we go back to this image here. Okay. So this is a rally, a pro-Palestinian rally. I'm just going to use this as an opportunity to make my usual point. Okay? Because this is a Palestinian flag, a pro-Palestinian rally, and a celebration of civilians being murdered. You know, a celebration of an act of genocide. That's what these paraglider images are, right? And you can see once more, and in many images, the flag of Palestine right next to celebration of terrorism, right? And again, this is not just a betrayal of Israeli people. This is anti-Palestinian. This is so harmful to Palestinians. This is turning the flag of Palestine and the so-called pro-Palestinian movement into a pro-terrorism movement. And this is so harmful to the Palestinian cause. These are people who are responsible for Palestinians dying, right? When you have turned the symbol of their state into a pro-terrorism symbol. This is why Palestinians keep dying, because of what you're doing, what you have turned their state to mean. Okay? And again, time and time again, I show you these examples. The Palestinian flag is now not seen as pro any group of people. To me, the Palestinian flag, thanks to these people, is now represents an anti-Jewish symbol or an anti-Israeli symbol rather than a pro group of people. Again, the
mhm,
people who
mhm.
call themselves pro-Palestinian are the most harmful to Palestinian people. The only people I trust to be pro-Palestinian, genuinely pro-Palestinian, are people who are also pro-Israeli, and they want the best for the people on both sides, right? Look at what they're doing to this. Look at what they're doing to the Palestinian flag. Look at this. Right next, these are the people who show up there. When I see a Palestinian in any Western country, whenever I see anywhere a Palestinian flag being, waved or people holding it, I assume that under there or around there, they are pro-Hamas sympathizers. That's what I first thing
Mhm.
that I assume. So when I see a Palestinian flag being waved around, I think that okay, these people here are probably in support of terrorism. More likely, not all of them, but more likely most of them, or at
And all
least.
these, like, leftist organizations, like the PSL, BLM, like, using all this DSA, like, socialists, right? Like, using the paraglider imagery, like,
Mm,
for shame.
right,
You guys have proven yourselves to be another death cult.
right.
And it was just like, "Oh,
Mm.
well, I guess I was right about you
I,
guys."
I also want to mention the points that you made. Okay, so remember, Israel did not need to respond in Gaza for people to be anti-Israel and anti-Jewish people. People from day one, October 7th was the attack. From October 8th, people came out against Israel right after the greatest attack on Israel in its history, right after the greatest act of genocide against Jewish people since World War II. Before Israel began to respond, people came out as being anti-Israeli and anti-Jewish. So if anybody tells you anywhere that Israel is getting this hate because of what they're doing in Gaza, tell them to shut the f up, because we saw these protests against Israel before Israel responded. The anti-Israeli stance, the hatred towards Israel is not because of what they're doing in Gaza. It's because they're Jews. They didn't Gaza. The response in Gaza did not have to happen. Jews dying, people came out in celebration of that, because it was, given that this was not a response to Israel doing anything, because Israel had not done anything yet after October 7th. When people came out with the waving the Palestinian flag after the October 7th, that was nothing but a celebration of Jews dying. Also, another good reminder for how superior Israel is to the states that Palestinians have. When it comes to this woman, who's celebrating Hamas killing Jews, is also herself afraid of Hamas, right? Imagine the freedom of expression that you have in Israel compared to Gaza. Even people who are genocidal against the Jewish people are afraid of Hamas, right? But in Israel, the best anti-Israeli government information that we could get ever is from Israel, because of the freedom of media and freedom of expression. All the dirt we have against the Likud party comes from Israeli media, because that's the power of freedom of expression and the freedom of media in Israel,
And
versus
there's a lot
Gaza
of
that
dirt.
even people, yeah, versus in Gaza that even the people who are genocide. But imagine how genocidal do you have to be against Jewish people that you celebrate the people who you yourself are afraid of, as long as they're killing Jews. Anyways,
Oh,
those
and
are
I
my points.
forgot to mention that in their court case, they legitimately tried to argue that the paraglider is not about Hamas, that it's like a
Oh,
known cultural symbol.
oh yeah. Re-
It's
what? Which
fucking
culture?
embarrassing. Like it's insane.
What
Like, do you
culture?
think we're
The
yeah,
paraglide people. The
yeah.
paraglide nation. It's in the Quran. Blessed be the paragliders.
If there's like a sports culture around paragliding in Gaza that I'm not familiar with, like please let me know. Like you're like, "Oh no, actually this is a very popular competitive sport."
Oh my god.
Like, do you think we are stupid? Like
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad that they're this desperate to lie. They must be hurting. I'm glad that they're feeling the pressure to have to resort to such stupid measures. Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.